to another episode of Candid Conversations. Today we're chatting with Carrie the Nanny. Carrie is a certified professional nanny, newborn care specialist, and graduate of the former English Nanny and Governess School in Cleveland, Ohio. Her area of study included infant and child development, psychology, children's literature, music and art, safety training and defensive driving, nutrition and cooking, and many other areas of childcare. She has worked with children from newborn through their preteen years and has experience with twins, sensory processing disorders, and severe food allergies. As a retired competitive swimmer and former swim coach and lifeguard, she has always loved to work on building swimming skills with the children in her care. Since having very unexpected anxiety after having her own child, she has reignited a true passion for educating others about water safety awareness and on emphasizing the fact that drowning is preventable. Can you share your background and expertise in the field of water safety for nannies and children, and what inspired you to become passionate about this subject?
Sure. So I grew up swimming in a pool. I started swim team when I was 8 years old competitively and learned to swim, before then too, but I swam competitively for 13 years or so. I started lifeguarding in high school. It was kind of just like the natural fun summer job. Obviously heavy responsibility, but you get paid to sit in the lifeguard chair for most of the time and, get a nice little suntan. So that was at least what my 16-year-old mind was thinking. Now it's, obviously so much more to it. And swam competitively and lifeguarded. And then when I became a nanny, I always, either sign them up for lessons, or if I was lucky enough to work for a family who had a pool or a membership somewhere, like I would take the children myself, if I was like physically capable, if there weren't too many of them. Just because I traveled with these families and just, swimming was always very important. We were around swimming pools. And I didn't realize after I became a mom in 2020 that I was going to have this kind of like really intense fear around water, like anxiety with my son. And I remember he was probably about 5 or 6 months old, and we were going to be taking him on his first like boating experience. He had the life jacket, had all the safety measures in place, and things. But it was just, I had this crazy fear. So I dove back into water safety just for my own self. And then, I share on my social media, Carrie the Nanny, and it on Instagram. And it kind of was like, if I'm relearning this, maybe other people could relearn this too.
Yes.
And it started off small. And then over the last couple of years, I've been more and more intentional, with learning more, following new water safety pages, and kind of just sharing, either things I know or things that I'm learning with the nannying and caregiver community.
Fantastic. I know being a nanny, I was always around swimming pools with children or the ocean. And I don't know which one's scarier really sometimes.
Sometimes, right.
Sometimes the ocean is less scary than the pool. And then other times the pool is less scary than the ocean, depending on the situation. But I found myself, I've always swam and I've always enjoyed being in water. I've always had like a respectful fear for the ocean and the water. But I felt myself being very nervous on a yacht with a pool on it. And especially when the boat is rocking and the water in the pool is rocking with it, and you can't actually feel the boat rocking, but you can see the water in the pool coming and going. And I have to say that kind of creeped me out a few times.
I could imagine that. I have not experienced that personally, but I have traveled with nanny families and members of their family, whether it's the parents or the grandparents or aunts, uncles, whoever, that I come to find out after the fact or during our travels that they were not
Can't
capable
swim.
or comfortable swimmers. And I was like, oh, this is something I should have known. And then now I ask that, obviously, but that was like a big eye opener because I just, I grew up around the water. I was very comfortable and everything. And I was just like, oh, you're a grown up too. You probably learned how to swim,
Yes.
like, but you cannot make those assumptions.
No. I've been around lots of nannies who are, for example, on a yacht and don't know how to swim, but don't say anything. And then their charges get into the ocean or they get into the pool, and you're wondering why they're not following. And
Mhm.
then or they sign up for water activities. And then when they're being asked, okay, are you able to swim if something happens? And they're like, I don't know how to swim. And I was I was getting very, very nervous with those. And I would just say, I'll go in with your charge, but you need to stay on the boat. Just because it's such a big liability. I mean, not only for the charge, but also for the nanny themselves.
Yes, huge.
All right. So, what are some of the most critical water safety guidelines and practices that nannies should follow when supervising children near bodies of water? It could be the ocean, it could be the pool. And how can nannies and parents effectively communicate and enforce these rules? Because obviously, children are having fun. The last thing they want is somebody say, "Don't do that, don't do that. No, 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 be careful."
Well, a lot of this starts like in the home when you're not around the water, right? Like
Yeah,
even before you do swim lessons. Like for example, the reinforcing the rules. I might be answering this question out of order, but
no, that's
the
okay.
reinforcing the rules is more like I'm not saying you need to stay by me because I like hearing myself talk. Like this is a, safety matter.
Mhm.
You need to be first time listeners, clean out your ears or
Yeah.
whatever you need to do, to make it fun for toddlers or elementary kids or whatever. But you need to be listening to me the first time. Either the water could be too rough, or we need to check the lifeguard flags, or I need to put sunscreen on my face and I'm not going to be looking at you for 30 seconds.
Hmm.
And that's like one of the things that, parents, nannies, caregivers need to realize is that especially with the top heavy headed toddlers, is that drowning can happen so quickly and in such little amount of water. So it can take less than 2 inches you only need less than 2 inches of water. So like bathtubs and buckets, those are really,
Hmm.
dangerous, like I said, for the big headed kiddos. And then it takes less than a minute for someone to drown. And the thing that also grown-ups need to know is that all drownings are 100% preventable through active supervision and you know reminding the rules and literally just making sure you have a water watcher on at all times. I know a lot of things come up during pool parties or during holiday weekends. So making sure, and it doesn't have to be one person because that person might have to use the restroom or that person
Yes.
might, I don't know, just need a break from watching the water. So even if you are rotating every, 15 to 30 minutes, I mean, that's what lifeguards do. They rotate
Hmm.
their stations, normally every 15 minutes or so. And having like a physical reminder, even like a lanyard or something, like to help that person remind them like they are the ones in charge of the water. But something I like to recommend to families who are having a pool party, either, well, if it's somewhere else, there probably is a lifeguard, but if it's at their home, if they have a home pool or a vacation home or whatever they're doing, is to hire a lifeguard, hire a
Hmm.
high school or college swimmer, even who, just that's their job for 4 hours. They're going to get paid, they're dedicated, they might need a snack or a restroom break again. Like that is specifically what they're doing. And then the parents and possibly the nannies or whatever, can kind of relax a little bit. If that's, the vibe of the party
Hmm.
again. Um, but yeah, it is the leading cause of accidental death in children from ages 1 to 4. And then the next age group that it's the highest are the teenagers. Um, Mostly because if they never learned to swim,
Mm.
then that is obviously a big skill that they're lacking. But teenagers go off with their friends and do teenagery things sometimes, and then they
Yeah.
get in trouble, whether it's swimming in a friend's pool or jumping into quarries or things that they should not be doing, but they don't want to hide the fact that they're not capable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but not being, a capable swimmer is not, again, it's not something you should be ashamed of, but it's something that you should either work on or communicate to the people that you're with.
Yes.
Again, whether it's your employers, family members, whoever it is.
I know oftentimes when I was working as a recruiter, I would ask nannies, "Are you a competent swimmer?" Just
Mhm.
because a lot of families, either have a pool or they go on vacation in their pools. And the amount of nannies who have said, "I can tread water." And I'm thinking, yeah, and if you have two kids who are climbing on top of you as you're treading water, you're gone. So, in my opinion, and maybe I'm too harsh, but in my opinion, you can't swim.
No, I don't think that's too harsh at all, and that's actually something else that I've shared about on my page, and that I've taught nanny kids in the past is because I actually had it happen to me when I was little. I mean, I was probably 10 or 11, and I was at this water park, and there was a platform, and I mean, this is just bad building, if you ask
Hmm.
me. But one side of the platform was, I don't know, 3 feet, say. So, like, if children jumped in, they could touch.
Mhm.
Well, the other side was like 5.5 feet. And I was there with a family friend at the time, and they were not a capable swimmer. And I was jumping in on the deeper side because I was, and
Mhm.
swimming around, and we were still playing on the same platform. But then this child essentially jumped in, like, on top of me, and I had to back kick, and this was pre
Mhm.
lifeguarding, pre everything.
Right.
So something that you can teach your children, or like even if you're an adult and you get stuck in a situation where another adult is panicking, you have to suck in as much air as you can. If you're try to get to the top of the water,
Mhm.
suck in as much air as you can and tuck into a small ball and literally buck off of them, like kick them in the stomach, they'll recover. And
Mhm.
then you get up to the top and you yell for help for someone else to come get them. But if they're pushing you down, like, both of you are going down, and
Yeah.
that's just dangerous also.
Yeah. You did talk about educating outside of the water, which is really important. But what can nannies and parents do if, let's say, they're in a public pool, there are lots of people, the children are being kind of rowdy, they're not listening, and the pool has a deep end and a shallow end, but they insist on going in the deep end. There are too many children, it's just a bit of a commotion. Is it is it better to just get them all out and and talk to them, or what would you advise?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, if you cannot be listening to the point where it could potentially be a dangerous situation, we have to leave.
Mhm.
Even if we just get there and you're not listening to me, like, because while water is fun and magical and so many memories, like all the summers and vacations, people plan it around, beaches or pools or,
Mhm.
you know, um, but it is dangerous. So yeah, if you can't be listening, you don't want to leave yet, we could make a choice to sit on the chairs together until you're ready to listen to me,
Mhm.
or we can leave and try again another day. I
Yeah.
mean, we can play with the sprinkler in the backyard. I mean, that's the next best option um, to that, just because, like, again, the lifeguards are great, but they have so many people to be watching,
Yes.
especially when you're in a crowded pool. And it's like, so one thing that grinds my gears a little bit, I'll just be honest and say, is when I assume, parents or caregivers just sitting on the side of the pool with even 5 to 7 year olds who may be decent swimmers. But they're sitting on the side of the pool either with their phone or a book or whatever it is. And the fact of the matter is, if you are at a beach or a pool, either away from your home or literally in your backyard with children, like, it
Mhm.
is not a relaxing time.
No.
This is not your season to read your book and get a suntan. If you want to do that, leave the kids at home or bring someone else with you, kind of
Mhm.
thing. Which nannies, we can't bring anybody else with us.
Exactly.
The children are our charge, or we're in charge of. Um, but yeah, you cannot take your eyes off of them again, because, like,
Mhm.
the lifeguards may have, 5 to 30 people in their area that you're watching, and you have, your 1 to 3 kids. But, um, so for example, like if you go to the pool with kiddos of different ages and capabilities, and 2 of them are decent swimmers and want to go in the deep end, well, then I have, the toddler sitting by me while we watch them go off the diving board for a little bit. And then they have to sit on the edge of the play area, like if they're not allowed in,
Mhm.
if they're too old or something.
Yeah.
They have to sit, at the edge of the shallow end and, wait for 15, 20 minutes while,
Yep.
they play. Which again is also a good time for hydrating and relotioning and things like that. So, but that's, a place where things can get sticky too, is just sending off the, little bit older kids. Um, I think pools normally say like, mm, I think it's like 12 to 14 ish is like when they'll like accept a child to come by themselves.
Hmm.
Um, Not that I would feel comfortable doing that like as a nanny.
Yeah.
Um, but so again, like if you had a toddler sitting in the kiddie pool, you just have to take the turns with the kids, and
Yes.
they have to understand that because you're only one adult, but you are fully responsible for all of them.
Exactly. And also, I mean, as you said, once you shouldn't really be taking them to the pool or the ocean if they are not able to follow rules in the home. So
Mhm.
if they're not good at waiting in the home, they're not going to be good at waiting at the pool.
Exactly.
So it's not going to work.
And it starts as early as, stopping and crossing the street. I mean, is
Hmm.
another good example. I mean, I know that's not water safety, but like you have to, if I say stop, you have to stop your
Yes.
feet, or run to the sidewalk. You have to run to the sidewalk, or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to be a first time listener. It can be life or death.
Hmm. I mean, and it's too dangerous to test it.
Hmm.
Um, all right. So I know you've mentioned some of them, but what are some common risk factors and hazards that are related to water safety that nannies should be aware of and that they should address proactively so that they can prevent accidents?
So I'll try to talk about a few different scenarios. One of them would be like for swimming pools, especially if it's a swimming pool that they are not familiar with, the children, or the nanny even, because from the top of the water, the depths look the same.
Hmm.
So like if a pool was to go from 3 to 5 feet real quick in a drop, but your, elementary age child can play confidently in the shallow area, you need to give them like a physical boundary that they cannot pass, because they might, it, sometimes pools have the ropes there, which
Hmm.
is the visual boundary, but like a lot of times there may not be there, or maybe it got moved for some reason and it wasn't put back. So you need to give them like a physical marker, even like put a kickboard on the side of the
Hmm.
pool and be like, this is, you cannot go past this point. And again, you're there watching them. But, because otherwise you could slip down, and I mean, I'm going to come get you, but this is where your safety zone is right now.
Hmm.
Um, so that would be an example for that. Going to the beach would be ideally swimming in a lifeguarded area if that is an option. I know some beaches don't have that if they're
Yeah.
private beaches. But if there are lifeguard chairs, checking on what the flags are doing. If they're green, safe, good, go ahead. Yellow is a little more caution, red is dangerous. I think blue is marine life. Um, and sometimes, I mean, there's double red flags. So, I mean, if
Yes.
again, if you're in an area like that, check out what the lifeguard chairs are saying. Um, and another thing that I like about like going to a lake or an ocean, where there's waves, um, even if the waves are a little bigger, if I know, like if I've already walked out and can like know how
Hmm.
deep it is right there, because sometimes it's like knee deep, way out,
Yes.
but the waves are coming up to their chests, and there's a
Hmm.
big, undertow there. So I set different boundaries, like you can't go past, your, which the middle of your shin is a little vague. But like if the water is right here,
Mhm.
that's as far as it goes because the wave's going to come up to your belly button and that's still
Right.
going to be fun.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to be next to them in the water, not sitting
Mhm.
on the beach reading my book. Um, and another tip that I learned from someone, I can't think of who it was right now, but they when they go to the beach, they bring a life jacket for themselves, the grown up, in case they need to go, in case one of their kids slips in, or whatever the case may be. So that way, like they stay afloat, which is something that I think is really good. Um, and then, I mean, going with the life jackets and like going boating, having a life jacket on at all times for children is most important. I mean, I have not nannied on a yacht, so I'm sure those rules could possibly be a little different. But the thing that I think people get mixed up with, let's just talk about, a pontoon boat or like a typical
Mhm.
speedboat kind of situation, is people think puddle jumpers, which are um, they're like foam around the arms and around the chest, and then it
Yes.
buckles in the back. It's not a full
Mhm.
buckle zipped, Coast
Yeah.
Guard certified life jacket. They think that those are sufficient for a running motor. And the fact is that they're not. So you need to have a regular life jacket on for that. If you are using puddle jumpers on a boating situation, they are like approved for literally walking on the docks
Mhm.
or for being standstill, like not moving. But when boats are actively moving, you want the life jacket that is puffier on the front.
Yep.
It's going to flip them on their back,
Yep.
in case accidents happen.
Yeah, and accidents do happen, and you can be as careful as you like, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you have to be prepared for it. And I like the idea of taking a life jacket for for the adult.
hmm And I don't know, I mean, I recognize being a nanny and a mom and, just a avid swimmer and everything, like water safety is so important and stuff, but it does definitely feel a little morbid talking about all this stuff. But it's like stuff that people need to know.
Yes.
And it's stuff that people forget too.
Yeah.
Like you forget about it. If you don't go on a winter holiday, you might not be in a pool again if you're not keeping up with winter
Mhm.
lessons until spring break
Yeah.
or summer again. I mean, that's 7 months that you could potentially be out of the pool,
Mhm.
so I mean, swim lessons are important year round.
Yes,
Just throw
they
that in
certainly are.
there.
Yep. All right. And I know you've spoken about your own training, and are there specific trainings and certifications and resources that you like and recommend for nannies and parents?
So something that's really good that I've recommended to a couple nannies actually who are looking for additional resume building opportunities is
Mhm.
to become a certified lifeguard,
Yep.
because that is great if you want to be a travel nanny or work
Mhm.
with a family who travels or a family who has a pool or whatever the case may be. It's just like an extra safety feather in your cap.
Yes.
You're very, very aware of, what's going on. I have something written down. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Here it is, courses. Um, so the lifeguarding course, sometimes schools offer them through various courses. I know I took the American Red Cross course. It was, you know, great. There's a water safety course for the American Red Cross for parents and caregivers. And then there's also one, it's one of my favorite water safety pages. It's called Alive Solutions. Hold on, let me click on that. No, I'm sorry. It's Aquatic Safety Connection on Instagram. But they have a course called Alive Water Smart Parents. They also have a Water Smart Kids and a Water Smart Caregiver.
Mhm.
Um, I have taken the parent one, and it kind of really just goes over a lot of water safety things that you need. And again, if you're a nanny looking to possibly, add it to your resume, another,
Yep.
feather in your cap thing. Um, but I like the idea too of having your children take it, especially like if
Mm,
they're of the right age. Um, I haven't super looked into that program, but I would assume like elementary, middle school age children
yes.
to take that. But yeah, those would be all, great places to start. The Aquatic Safety Connection, they have a really powerful graphic that gets recirculated every spring, I feel like. And it's the colors of the bathing suits on the
Hmm.
bottom of either a pool, a lake, or an ocean. And how, it makes sense. Brighter suits would be
Yes.
better, like bright green, bright orange, bright red. Lifeguards wear red, but it's like every year you see the beautiful blue bathing suits because they
Hmm.
look so cute and they match the beach and all the great stuff.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, but they're the owners of that graphic, and I really I enjoy following them. They post water safety content year round too. Um, I will say too, I forgot to mention this. Um, Drown Alliance is another website,
Hmm.
you know, educating on water safety and things like that. They have a free downloadable travel checklist.
Hmm.
So, like, especially like for nannies, this would be a really great resource. If you're traveling with a family, if your family has a pool at their house, they probably have the door alarms, the fences, the covers,
Hmm.
this, all the checklist. If you're going to an Airbnb,
Yeah.
they might not have all those things, or they could be broken, or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and it's like a 3-page document.
Oh, nice.
And it's a really great thing to go over for hotels and things. Like I know I was actually thinking, actually when we were at the International Nanny Association conference, the pools had the gates that were they
Hmm.
unlocked at the top so kiddos couldn't get in. Well, there was a beautiful aquatic feature over here, a pond that somebody could toss a shiny petty into, and my
Hmm.
toddler could look at it and just
And
go whoop head
yep.
first. No barrier around that. So it kind of just opens your eyes to other things that you
Yes.
might forget about because you're busy making sure you have all the swimsuits and the swim
Hmm.
diapers and the
Yep.
clothes and the everything that you need for vacation.
Yep.
Again, great for parents too, but just specifically that would be a great resource for nannies to have in their binder somewhere.
Okay. I think I'll link that in the description and then people can just go and click on it. If our viewers or listeners want to reach out to you and get some tips, how can they find you? I know you mentioned Carrie the Nanny on Instagram. Is there any other way?
Yeah, so I'm Carrie the Nanny across social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But I mostly am on Instagram.
Okay.
Or my website is carriethenanny.com, or they can send me an email at hi at
Okay. I'll
gmail.com.
link it all in the
Thank you.
description so that they can find you. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. And we'll see you soon.
Very good.